We can all think back to those weeks of the bushfires. We breathed the most toxic air on earth at that time, and that toxic smoke killed hundreds of people and it hospitalised thousands more. And just this week we have witnessed a 1 in 1,000 year rainfall and flooding event, taking a horrible toll on communities across Australia. And I was thankful that the day that those really extreme storms came through our town this week, my daughter was at the Moruya preschool. That is now a bushfire and heatwave hub and has a battery backup, and I felt somewhat safer that she was there. So I'm so grateful for the work that Shazza has been doing to make our community a little bit more prepared for the disasters that are coming. Because our assumptions about the stability and the safety of the world are fundamentally challenged by climate change. Climate change is turbocharging extreme weather events, and we are living in the chaos of climate change now. And we, the communities of Australia, are bearing the economic, health and social costs of decades of climate inaction and government policy failure. I'm here to break the bad news. If we stick to current pledges by world governments, we are on track for at least 3 degrees of warming. And the latest IPCC, aka the Atlas of Suffering, makes it extremely clear. We are already at 1.1 degrees above baseline, and by the time my children are teenagers, we're going to hit 1.5 degrees. And if we continue to burn fossil fuels at the current rate, we are heading towards catastrophic warming of over 2 degrees by the time my children are adults. I worry about their future, and that is why I'm here. So these fractions of a degree of global heating are not only profoundly changing our world, but have significant impacts on our health. Humans, like other creatures, depend on a stable climate for health, abundant food, clean air and water, but climate change is disrupting the very systems we rely on for survival. In the short term, the biggest consequence for our heat is heat waves. They are happening more often, lasting longer, and they're getting hotter. Extreme heat can kill on its own, but the longer that heat waves go on, the more emergency departments see more heart attacks, strokes, kidney and lung disease, more women with pregnancy complications like stillbirth, even an increase in violence and suicides. By the time my children are adults, the temperatures are going to hit 50 degrees, making it dangerous to work outside for whole weeks at a time during summer. Many parts of Australia will become completely unlivable. Climate change is also a threat to mental health of individuals and communities today. It is contributing to mental health disorders such as anxiety, depression and suicide. I have witnessed this in my own patients and community following the bushfire crisis. And further compounding the trauma of disasters is the distress people feel when they begin to understand that these events are caused by human-driven climate change. And I know that many of us here have struggled with coming to terms with what's happening to our changing world. But there is still hope. There is hope for a cure. Real, ambitious, job-rich action on climate. But it's got to be big, because we've left it till so late in the game. Not far off pledges or false technology, but science-backed solutions coupled with transformational action. We must solve the climate crisis by repairing relationships with ourselves, with each other and the earth. By restoring the degraded soils and forests, cleaning up polluted rivers and streams, mending our depleted seas and ecosystems, we must transform how we live and what we eat, from combustive engines and ultra-processed foods to active and electrified transport to whole food, plant-based diets. We must solve the plastic pollution and waste crisis by exploring creative circular economies. The benefits will flow just beyond just solving the climate crisis, but will make us healthier, smarter, and live longer. Did you know that just exposure to air pollution alone takes 1 year of our life away? Can you imagine our airs being clean when we don't have combustive engines anymore? I can't wait for that moment. I hope my children know what that's like. So while we also focus on renewables, I want to draw attention to other local solutions with cost savings attached, such as ending native forest logging.
Yes.
Which, by the way, is massively subsidised by our taxpayer dollars. And we could use that money to better invest in management of our state forests for fire resilience, biodiversity enhancement, ecotourism and carbon offset investments. I've got compelling reports here from Frontier Economics and Zero Southeast that show that this will save us money and save our beautiful forests and increase jobs in the region. And that's why I live here, because I love the forests. Lastly, our healthcare sector is responsible for 7% of emissions in Australia. We can and should build state-of-the-art net zero hospital in Moruya. But we must also try to stop people from getting to hospital in the first place. We must invest strongly in health promotion, disease prevention and primary health care, like in GP practices that I work, which have been grossly underfunded for a very long time. Yes. And we are struggling to provide quality care that's free, because it has to be free. Otherwise, we are going to cut out large sectors of our community that cannot afford healthcare and then end up in hospital costing us lots more money. So, I will conclude with a short quote from the preamble to the Paris Agreement, which Australia is a signatory to. Climate change is a common concern of humankind. Parties should, when taking action to address climate change, respect, promote and consider their respective obligations on human rights, the right to health, the right of Indigenous peoples, local communities, migrants, children, people with disabilities, people in vulnerable situations and the right to development, as well as gender equality, empowerment of women and intergenerational equality. I love this quote because it highlights the urgent need to transform the systems which led to the crisis in the first place, from colonialisation and the patriarchal system to one that benefits all and leaves no one behind. We need to lay down our differences, draw on our strengths, work together and be really, really ambitious to solve these challenging problems. So tonight I want to challenge you all to pledge to use your influence, your power and your position to help change the climate narrative from doom and gloom to a jobs boom. Let's emerge from the mega fires and mega floods united and make 2022 the year for mega climate action.